The factory manager publicly announced that he was taking away my annual salary of 50,000 yuan because I had arrived 2 minutes late. I tried to explain that I had worked until 3 a.m. the previous morning to repair a machine. He accused me of making excuses. I didn't want to argue anymore and started working at a slow pace. As a result, in less than a month, the machine broke down in the middle of the night and no one was able to fix it. The factory lost 100 million in one go. On Monday morning, honestly, I felt pretty calm. After the emergency repair of machine number 30, the alarms finally stopped. Seeing the stable data, I felt completely at peace. I dragged my feet to the dormitory. It was already the middle of the night. Lying in bed, I thought to myself that if I held out until the end of the month to collect my bonus, my father's dialysis bills, the money for my wife's second child, and New Year's Eve expenses would just about cover them. But when I woke up and the alarm went off, it was already too late. I was well and truly minutes late. I ran as fast as I could to the gate. But the time clock mercilessly displayed 8:20 a.m. The red light came on with a loud beep, and my heart sank. This was the end. I was bound to get reprimanded. I expected some scolding, but the manager brought out the big guns. At the morning meeting, more than 100 workers were crowded into the workshop. The machines idle. The air was saturated with the smell of pungent lubricant mixed with cheap washing powder. It was stifling. The manager was holding a pile of papers. His face was ashen. He cleared his throat theatrically. Then he gave me a sidelong glance. I'll start with an announcement. Some people, under the pretext of being long-time employees, get a little too comfortable. The IGE is for you. Feng arrived 2 minutes late. According to the rules, he loses his entire annual bonus of 50,000 yuan. A dead silence filled the workshop. My head was buzzing, completely stunned. 50,000 yuan may be nothing to the rich, but to me, it's the vital money for my father's quarterly salary, my wife's hospital expenses, and most importantly, it's all my family counts on for the holidays. After a year of hard work, my salary is never enough, and I was desperately counting on this bonus. A colleague behind me gasped for 50,000 for 2 minutes. That's radical. What plans do we have for New Year's? That's clear. We slog all year for this misery, and he still goes? Serves him right. Some in the crowd were jubilant. My throat was dry, as if someone had stuffed cotton in it. I took a deep breath to be able to articulate. Director A. Machine number 3 had an alert yesterday. The circuit burned down. I had to work alone until 3 a.m. I only slept for a moment and missed my alarm. That's why I'm 2 minutes late. I didn't even have time for lunch. My stomach is empty. The director didn't even look at me, continuing to leaf through his list. Overtime is your problem. Being late is an infraction. The factory rules cannot be broken for you. If I hadn't fixed the machine all night, number 3 wouldn't be working and the whole factory would be at a standstill. He slammed the table hard, startling the worker in front of him. Le Feng, what do you mean? You're wrong and you dare to respond. As an elder, it should set an example. If you arrive late, how are we going to handle the rest? The rules have become decorative. Under this public humiliation, my face was burning. I've been working here for 5 years. I'm a team leader after all, and he made me lose all my dignity in front of everyone. A colleague murmured. He really worked until the middle of the night yesterday. Being on the night shift, we saw him leave the machine. And what difference does that make here? The manager decides everything. Hearing the murmurs, the manager became furious and threatened from now on. Anyone who dares to ask for leniency for him will be punished. These 50,000 years will serve as an example. Anyone who arrives late will be punished in the same way. Once the threat was made, everyone looked down at their shoes, not daring to breathe for fear of being implicated. I clenched my teeth, my hands sweating, and a huge lump in my chest. It wasn't that I wanted to deny my fault, but this injustice was impossible to swallow. Staring at the arrogant face of this petty boss, I suddenly understood one thing. To a capitalist, health, sleepless nights, and urgent repairs are worth absolutely nothing. I'm just a soulless time clock. If I don't clock in on time, I deserve to be sacrificed. Lion elbowed me. Beg him, he whispered. 50,000 years! I took a deep breath, swallowing it. It's unfair that was about to come out. I adjusted my safety helmet and gave the manager a cold smile in a strangely calm tone. No problem, manager. Let's do everything as you said. The manager was speechless. The arrogant manager, surprised that this stubborn woman finally lowered her eyes, reconned through the list before closing the meeting. Everyone returned to their posts. The workers scattered like panicked ants, some deliberately avoiding me, as if approaching me brought bad luck. Others came over to pat me on the shoulder. Forget it. Accept your fate. Why did you have to try to defy them? I remained silent without saying a word. The journey to machine number 3 was heavy, but it didn't seem to weigh a ton. Images of last night flashed through my mind, huddled alone on the cold concrete, my arm buried in the burning machine, the back of my hand covered in red welts. I hadn't even dared to take a sip of water despite my throat being on fire. At that hour, the entire factory was asleep, and I, an idiot, was afraid of delaying production. Killing myself at work, trying to fix everything overnight, in hindsight, was incredibly stupid. Facing this massive machine, I gently placed my hand on the still warm metal. From the day this old machine was installed, I had been working with external engineers to understand its every whim. Which bearing vibrates? Which gear squeaks as soon as the engine starts? I could locate the fault with my eyes closed. For so many years, when the machine broke down, everyone had this reflex. Call quickly, even at 2 a.m. in the middle of sleep. A simple flick of the film would make Feng jump out of bed and head to the workshop. He never said no. And what did I get in return? Because of those damned 2 minutes of delay, 50,000 years of money had evaporated, depriving my family of income for the entire year. I can't help but smile bitterly. That ridiculous remnant of dedication in me has just been trampled and torn to pieces. The old chain, noticing my stiffness, whispers, "Brother Lee, are you really swallowing that pill? Don't you want to ask the superior for a favor?" There's no point in reasoning with them. So what are you going to do? I readjust my badge on my chest and grab a wrench. What else can I do? From now on, we will strictly follow the rules. Old chain, forbidden. Don't understand. You mean to clock in at their stack and leave as soon as the bell rings. Once my work is done, working a second longer would be mean. Old chain stands still for 2 seconds, but you always arrived half an hour early to inspect the lines. That was when I was brainwashed. From now on, whoever wants to play the free pigeon, let them do it right now. I have definitely decided on my plan. No trouble, no argument, and especially no resignation. We'll strictly abide by our employment contract. If the factory absolutely wants to turn us into soulless screws, then I will be a rusty screw. I will earn what I have to earn, not a cent more. As for this dear machine number 3 and the risk of paralyzing the entire production line, Tharda, I leave the manager without a care. The bell rings, so I quickly put away my tools, sprint to the time clock, and leave the factory. Every second spent here is an immense waste of life. The next morning, I calculate to arrive 3 seconds before the deadline and rush into the factory. Beep! When I see the green light, I rejoice inwardly. The sucker who did half an hour of voluntary work is dead. Now I count to the second. Old chain watches me from afar. Brother Elyon, you let go and you let yourself go. What do you want? The boss demands that the rules be respected. I follow them to the letter. I deliberately slow down, walking slower than an old man in the park. Arriving at the workshop, I come face to face with the manager, who stares at me with a dark face. I sneer inwardly. You see? This is the result of your relentless exploitation of honest people, transformed into free cattle. Before, when I was there early and worked tirelessly, no one noticed. Now that I clock in on time, it seems like I've committed a crime. You're punctual today. You follow the rules to the letter. Mouth B remains unable to respond. His usual arrogance crumbles before my eyes as soon as the meeting begins. The manager's gaze does not leave me, seeing that I remain motionless as a board, without submitting my usual inspection report. His face becomes even darker. It goes to show that capitalists do not know the limits of exploitation, and if they can't take advantage of you, he considers it a huge loss. Right after announcing the end of the meeting, he insists, "Your mocking heart. Come on, let's disperse. Everyone, get to work." Impliedly, he's testing me to see if, like a puppy, I'll stay and work overtime. I turn on my heel abruptly, without even glancing at him. Old Chen follows me, trying to suppress a laugh. "Brother Lee, that resistance was really a fine piece of work." I shrug, indifferent. If I don't show them my teeth, they'll really think I'm a free repairman, available 24 hours a day. Truth be told, anger still burns inside me. But the more I feel oppressed, the more I cut ties with their expectations. To be honest, the anger that simmers inside me still burns. But the more frustrated I feel, the more I have to make a clean break with my actions. If I'm going to stick strictly to the contract, they might as well open their eyes without me to diffuse the problems every day. Can this ruined factory really operate as planned just half an hour after I take over my shift? Machine number 3, my little favorite, started acting up. The speed of the conveyor belt dropped noticeably, and the apprentice panicked. He pressed the control panel frantically, muttering, "It's over. It's all over. Why the alarm? Is it still going off? What are you clicking, you idiot? Hurry up and call Lai to fix it." The young man shouted, panicking as he turned around. In the meantime, I was calmly searching for the right wrench in my toolbox. The manager came out of his office, his face black with anger. "What's going on? Why has the speed dropped again?" Before, Lefeng would check everything in advance. He probably hasn't even checked this area yet. The manager was about to explode with rage when he heard this. He's the team leader. If he's not careful, the entire production line will end up eating wind. Hearing this, I threw my wrench on the table and spread my hands. "Manager, I do what I have to do during my working hours. You insist that I work early? Does this count as overtime? That wasn't your attitude before. You didn't come. Don't always work earlier? That was before. Weren't you the one who said yesterday that the rules were sacred? Why should I touch the machine early? That's not knowingly breaking the rules." A dead silence fell around us. Everyone was waiting for the manager to explode, but he couldn't get a word out for a long time. He had to grit his teeth and ask the office staff to take over. Less than 10 minutes later, machine number 3 made a dull noise that made the entire workshop floor vibrate. The young man next to him was shaking all over. It stopped by itself. The manager's face turned livid. What does it mean for this machine to stop? The entire production line is paralyzed. Production is cut in half. Orders are ruined. The manager screamed. "Lefeng, do you really want to see us fail? Is that it? Come quickly and fix it, manager. I'm not on strike, but don't yell at me. It doesn't work for me." Beside him, Layan fought back laughter, his shoulders convulsing. You're gonna end up giving him a brain hemorrhage. The manager's face was oscillating between green and white. He swallowed his anger with force. "Leng, Do me the favor of coming and taking a look." He finally nodded with difficulty. I leaned down to inspect the machine, and in 2 minutes, I identified the fault. The belt was loose and had derailed. It had already come loose yesterday. During the emergency repair, new parts were needed, but management consistently refused to buy them. Today, with the high speed, the problem is waiting to explode. I stood up straight, shaking the grease from my hands. "Manager, I told you yesterday that the part had to be replaced. You need proof, or else I can't help." Dozens of them in the workshop turned to him, clearly saying, "Well, let's see how you get away with it this time." The manager was red with shame. "Fix it, no matter how. Without a new part, I can only install a temporary patch. How long will it last? It's fate. Make it hold, or today's entire production is ruined." Without another word, I tightened the belt, but I knew very well that this damn machine would end up blowing up sooner or later. Before, I used to do 7 or 8 inspection days a day to prevent that. After wiping my oily hands, I headed for the exit. "Manager, I'm going to the bathroom." The manager's eyes widened. "You haven't been there before." I looked at him coldly. "When you cut my 50,000 bonus, Adisa, didn't you say that we had to follow the rules? I normally go to the bathroom, right? Do the internal rules forbid employees from relieving themselves?" The manager was speechless. The workers all along the line were holding back their laughter, their faces turning purple. I felt relieved and satisfied. From that second on, I finally understood my lesson. If no humanity is shown, then I will be cold and follow the rules. If I am not respected, then no one will do well. The capitalist chose the wrong person this time. Not an easy target, mole, but someone who holds technical mastery. It was the biggest stupidity he has ever done in his life to say that the line can run without me. When the end of shift bell rang, I was the first to leave the workshop like an arrow. "You're not working overtime. The machine is still unstable," shouted the apprentice behind me. I left without looking back. More overtime. This is madness. If I leave too late, there will be no more left in the cafeteria. I will have to eat instant noodles again. Those who want to be beasts of burden should do so. To hell with overtime. The words barely left my mouth before I was already at the time clock, getting the first green light. Leaving on time is the basic dignity of any worker. Before, my brain was really soft. I would work hard on the machines after work, afraid of slowing down the plan, thinking that working more was my duty. Working and doing overtime, it doesn't matter. Me, but ending up sighing over an empty bowl in the cafeteria and having to pay for my instant noodle to survive. Me, it's too much. Now, my eyes are open. Working hard all your life doesn't bring any recognition, but a few minutes of lateness are enough to erase a year's effort. It's a flagrant injustice. 50,000 saved for a hard time has gone up in smoke. So what's the point of continuing to play the role model? I have to find a little job in the evenings to make ends meet. Every penny counts to ensure my next meal. I pull out the secret number on my phone, that of the competitor next door. The senior manager. "You said I had to come and take a look at your machines. You're still hoping for someone on the other end." His joy is immediate. He's so enthusiastic that he'd gladly offer me a cup of tea over the phone. "Yes, more than ever. Standard hourly rate versus 4C. Does that work for you?" I think for a moment and ask for 500. It's possible. I guarantee immediate results. A 2-second silence. I thought this old fox was going to negotiate, but he cuts it short. "If you come sine, it's a deal. Pay by the day without fail. Come quickly. It's chaos here." I stand there frozen. A whirlwind of conflicting emotions in my chest. The one who forces me to work until 3 a.m. without a word of gratitude is my longtime employer, to whom I've given everything for 5 years. And the one who rushes to get his wallet out to have me for just a visit is someone else's boss. "No problem. Hey, I'll be there in 15 minutes. I hang up, jump on my scooter, full throttle. 2,000 years of bonus. I've just arrived outside the factory. I see the manager, who is waiting impatiently for me. "My savior, here you are at last." The machine has been stopped for several days. My technicians have dismantled everything and still haven't found the fault. Go check it out. As soon as I get near the machine, I hear little mechanical noises and I immediately understand the problem. Immediately, within 20 minutes, the machine functioned better than new. If it weren't for the machines my former boss used to work like a madman, I would never have acquired such expertise. The manager who makes your eyes pop out of your head has already fixed it in 10 minutes. The technician's next door. A worm of jealousy, he tries timidly. "You already knew where the problem was, right?" I shake my oil-stained hands. "Not at all. I just listened to the noise." The technician grimaces. "We listened for 3 days. We struggled for 3 days. There's no denying it. He's too good." Another technician adds, "With that kind of talent, you must earn tens of thousands over there." No, when I hear that, my nose stings. I'm overcome by immense sadness. Tens of thousands where? With a salary of 8,000? Cole, I can barely feed my family. Find out more. In our industry, anyone with a modicum of talent earns much more than that. Come on, have a cup of tea in my office. The manager knows where I am. The factory isn't huge, but the workshop is brilliant and the workers work with real fire in their eyes. Don't try so hard. I just want to work. 2 more hours is always a good price. Director? Or, to be honest, with the new year approaching, I need to fill the gaps. I politely decline his invitation because, having fixed the machine too quickly, I couldn't even accumulate enough hours. I understand perfectly. Don't worry about it. You've just pulled a monumental thorn out of my side. They struggled for nothing. The director is crying out loud. No one knew how to fix this for days. You've unblocked everything. Here, take these two. They're for your efforts tonight. Sit down. Let's have a tea and talk. He hands me a wad of bills. I tremble with surprise. I only worked 10 minutes. Why give myself so much? I almost regret it. If I had known, I would have dragged my feet a little longer to reach 4 hours of work to better deserve this money. Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. If this machine is down for a day, I will lose hundreds of thousands. You saved my ass. This money is well deserved. Lang, you are truly someone. Come work for me. I offer you much better conditions than in your current factory. These words warm my heart like a hearth. I did not expect such generosity from this boss. He is someone who truly treats skilled technicians with respect. I am speechless, especially with the new year approaching. Quitting your job overnight is a big decision. Don't rush it. Go back and think it over. But I have a favor to ask of you. With the end of year orders, we are overwhelmed. MGA can't take it anymore. Could you come by after work to provide a presence and maintain the equipment? We will agree on the price. Even if you just play on your phone, as long as the machine runs all night, I will pay you $2,000 per night without question. How come you just help your old brother get through the months of the year end? His tone was so sincere that it was impossible to refuse, and Lang froze like a statue. No matter how much work I do, it's $2,000 a night. Hey, and there are still 60 full days until the new year. If I work these full months, the earnings will directly exceed the factory total annual income every night, even if I only stay for an hour. It's enough. His eyes widened. Incredulous. That's right. The manager shook his head vigorously. I won't beat around the bush. There are millions in orders to be delivered before the end of the year. You know what I'm talking about. If the machines break down, losing a single day would make me jump out of the window. I really count on your expertise. Please help me. I've built this factory from scratch to today. It's really not easy. These words hit Elfeng with a mixture of emotion. So my expertise is worth all that. So what happened to the past 5 years of free labor? I was just a big fat patsy. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry. If you're bothered by the daily payments, I'll pay you all this month's money in advance later. If you're worried that bank transfers won't be convenient, I can bring you a suitcase full of cash. Wait for me. I'll make the call right away so the accounting department can bring the money to the shop. No, don't rush. He stammered for a moment, unable to articulate, used to being exploited. This windfall was falling from the sky. He could hardly believe it. A daily payment suits me perfectly. Thank you very much. I'm the one who should be thanking you. You just put out a huge fire for me. The manager took the opportunity to fill his cup of tea. I'm going to take a look around the workshop. He stood up with a complete change of attitude. To tell the truth, after only 10 minutes of inspecting the machine, pocketing yuan, his fingers were burning. Even the quality tea had lost its taste. I love pragmatic guys like you. I'll send someone to guide you. I have a meeting. I can accompany you? Everything depends on you for the machines. After the instructions were given, Liches, the director, sent someone to take him to the workshop. He walked around the facility, listening intently to each machine. He fixed everything that was faulty, working tirelessly until 11 p.m., listening to the steady hum of the machines in the workshop. He finally felt at peace. Only then did the 2 yuan in his pocket feel deserved. As he rode back to his dorm on his little electric scooter, he took out his phone and saw the screen full of missed calls. It was all his colleagues from the factory. While he was fixing the machines, he had put his phone on silent. Opening the chat revealed over 99 messages. Brother L, where have you been? Machine number 3 is down again. The nuclear team won't start. Come save us. The sales department is putting on the pressure. The customer brought forward the delivery date and the machine refuses to start. The other machines in the workshop are on strike. Everyone is overwhelmed. Boss, come back and help us. The manager is yelling in all directions. Messages are pouring in from the workshop group. I'm already on leave. I'm out making deliveries, he replied calmly, typing on his keyboard. We'll see tomorrow morning about this kind of free work. Without a penny, he wouldn't stay a second longer. He opened the next message and saw the transfer from the manager, or 60,000 liang. Thank you very much. I'll be back to the factory after having a drink. Thank you for eliminating all risks. Here is the account for your month's work. Take it. Don't refuse. Absolutely accept it. This boss is really generous. He thought his promise to pay in advance was just empty words. He hesitated for a moment, replied, "Thank you," and accepted the payment without hesitation. His fingers trembled slightly on the screen. From now on, he would leave his former employer to devote all his energy to protecting Mr. Oao's interests. He already planned that if he no longer had major contracts with Mr. O, he would go and approach other factories to sell his expertise. As the end of the year approached, all the production lines were running at full speed, and skilled technicians were in demand everywhere. With that kind of talent, if he put his mind to it, he could easily make a nice sum for the holidays. Tiredness is nothing. What matters is not to be broke as a middle-aged man with a mortgage and a family to support. Earning money is the only priority. He thought back to the look on his father's face as he waited for his medication and his wife's growing belly and the colossal New Year's Eve expenses that he was choking on. But now, he finally saw the light. Free from the hours after the unpaid overtime, he slept exceptionally well. Thinking about the end-of-year bonus stolen by that corrupt manager, he had recovered it 100-fold. All his resentment had evaporated. He didn't even have a dream. He slept until morning. The next day, He rushed to the factory, arriving 3 seconds before the deadline. Hearing the green signal from the time clock, he took out his phone. The screen lit up. Dozens of unread messages. The groans of the workshop group. He swiped the screen. He almost burst out laughing. It's over. Machine number 3 is completely out of service this time. The roar of the explosion shook half the factory, and the manager has been there since 2 a.m. in his pajamas. He arrived and insulted the night shift supervisor so much that he ended up in tears before putting his phone back in his pocket. He entered the workshop and floating there, pretending to be ignorant as if he had just rolled out of bed and headed nonchalantly. Number 3. He then discovered a dancing crowd, all their faces disfigured like frost-shriveled vegetables, with the manager standing in the middle like a fence post, his eyes bloodshot, looking as furious as a gambler who has lost everything after 3 days of mahjong. He suddenly spotted me. Leng, where were you last night? The machine is in a terrible state. You don't even have to look. You just casually put on your helmet, looking perfectly innocent. Last night, I clocked in and went home. Weren't you the ones telling me that the rules are sacred? I strictly adhered to the factory rules. It's unstoppable. He rolled his eyes, almost choking, while the apprentices around him bit their lips to not burst out laughing. His shoulders were shaking with tremors. He didn't dare say a word. The manager gritted his teeth to contain his rage, forcing a smile that was much more painful to watch than his tears. Very well. At least you can take over now. No, if machine number 3 doesn't run, our production capacity for today will collapse. You swept the place with a cold and serene gaze. Have you replaced the wearing parts? The manager looked away, stammering to pretend not to understand, but he couldn't help but snicker. I had reported the day before yesterday that the transmission belt was about to give out and needed to be replaced. You refuse to release the budget again? Isn't that right? A dead silence suddenly filled the huge workshop. You could have heard a pin drop. Mr. Manager, the last time we talked about the belt, you yourself said that the budget was over and that we had to wait until next month. The manager's face turned green and he screamed in anger. Shut up immediately. He pointed to his temple with piss. Machines never lie. By trying to save a few dozen euros on parts, you're going to pay hundreds of thousands of euros in production downtime. The manager stamped his foot in anger. Well, find a solution. Fix it so it works. The sales department is swamping my phone with calls. You look down indifferently, cleaning your nails, without the slightest emotion in your voice. Sorry, this job is impossible today. The manager was on the verge of neurosis. What are you saying? Repeat it a little bit and see. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, without new parts. Do you want me to fix this? With what? The whole workshop is full of old scrap metal. You refuse to invest, but you know very well how to press the workers to fill the holes. Are the lives and time of the little hands worthless? The workshop manager next to him, his face contorted with anxiety, whispered to the manager. Feng is right about this one. We have blocked the purchase of parts without materials. Even a magician could not do anything. The manager's face turned pale and cracked. So teach me what to do. The customer is coming to inspect the goods. If that's the case, we will have to pay colossal late payment penalties. You cleared your throat calmly. In a light tone, you let go. Well, my technique is not enough. I can't fix it. Penalties? We'll have to deal with them. You chuckled inwardly. In any case, the penalties will not be deducted from your salary. You are trying to intimidate me. The air froze. All eyes were on you, as big as saucers. We stared at me like I was an alien. The Hauken was shaking and muttered a curse. You just crossed the red line. The manager, his eyes bloodshot, looked ready to explode. Lefeng, you are openly defying management. You don't want to work here anymore. Is that it? You interrupted him in his impotent rage. I call for strict enforcement of the rules. You set the rules. I just follow them. What have I done wrong? Or worse case, I'm leaving today. He was shaking with rage, unable to stand. Did you continue? Impossible. The day the parts arrive, the machine will start up again. Don't say I'm inflexible. As soon as the equipment arrives, it will be running in 10 minutes. I guarantee it. Purchasing department. When will the parts arrive? Express shipping. 3 days at the earliest. The manager felt complete darkness, lacking fainting from a stroke. In the crowd, someone suddenly made a fatal remark. If we hadn't pushed the kettle, we wouldn't be here. That's true. Before, he checked the risks every morning, and that damn machine had never broken down. For being 2 minutes late, the manager confiscated 50,000 pounds of sweat. It was truly odious. The manager gave everyone a terrifying black look. No one dared to breathe anymore. But the habit was set, and the atmosphere in the workshop had changed. Everyone knew that for 2 minutes, the manager had pushed the best technician to throw away the smudges. The factory's survival depended on Leng, but now he looks at this factory as if it were a trash can. Seeing the manager about to explode, I stretched for a long time, nonchalant, and let out a long sigh. The rules forbid small talk. I have to go to work. Let me know when the parts are here. Hands in my pockets, my gait swaying. I move forward with such nonchalance that I look like a retiree strolling through the workshop. Leaving behind me, only a director rooted to the spot. As pale as a corpse fresh from the morgue, I meticulously adjust the other machines. These piles of scrap metal that others see as death traps in my hands. They obey every command. It works 24/7 at an insane pace at year-end. The parts have been worn out for ages and lack regular maintenance. It's a miracle that it doesn't give up. Previously, sheer devotion allowed us to endure such trials. Anyone who fell asleep would curl up in a corner, a 10-minute nap, and we'd be back to the time when I was the big brother. Even after days and nights without sleeping, I never let the line stop. Convinced that it was my mistake. It was a burden I couldn't shake. My colleagues were fuming under the pressure of overtime, and in the end, I was the one who had to carry it all. To be honest, I know these machines like the back of my hand, better than the manager knows his own son. The little apprentice approaches quietly to whisper, "Day to leave. Think you're just gonna stay here being a good Samaritan? Goodbye to my end-of-year bonus. After this year, I'm out of here." I count the noises of the machine next door. With a gesture, I turn the dial. A click, the background noise disappears. And you? Ha, have you found another job? I glance at him. We'll see one step at a time. Above all, don't reveal anything about the royal salary offered by the new boss. Otherwise, this rotten company would implode on the spot. This exhausting day is finally coming to an end. Just a second before clocking in, the parts arrive. The manager shouts, "The equipment is here. Machine number 3 is saved." I don't even bother to turn my head. It's time to go. I sprint towards the time clock like a sprinter. As soon as the worm light comes on, I feel light. Another $2,000 to earn tonight. I clean my grease-stained hands. We'll see about that in the morning. The stock manager is stunned, but the manager has given strict orders. This has to be sorted out tonight. At work, I work for the money. Outside of work hours, I'm no longer there. Working for free. Never in my life. I have deliveries to make ends meet, otherwise I'll be gasping for air for the holidays. My colleagues hold back their laughter as they see me leave. A wave of relief runs through the workshop. Finally, someone who dares to stand up to management. A former murmur of admiration. Damn, this is enjoyable. Lit is a real tough. He's not afraid of anything. Meanwhile, the manager stands in front of his desk, his face tense. His face is dark as the bottom of a pot. Where are the parts? Go ahead, install them. He's all alone in bed. The storekeeper is trembling. The parts have arrived, but he's already gone. What? Call him back right away. Right now, the storekeeper is on the verge of crying. He's already disappeared. He left on an electric scooter. He said he was making deliveries. There's no stopping him. The world is upside down. Who the hell is ordering from this company? Manager? The sales department has been categorical. The customer inspects the merchandise tomorrow at 10 a.m. The manager's face goes from red to cadaverous white. If the customer sees number 3 broken, the order will be canceled. The late payment penalties would cost more than the entire factory. Trembling with fear, he collapses against the doorframe. If he comes tomorrow morning, will he be able to fix it? The workshop manager stammers. Swallowing. Probably yes. The manager grits his teeth until his jaw cracks. If he's been late tomorrow, I'll deflate like a punctured balloon before I can even finish my threat. No, you really shouldn't piss this guy off anymore. The manager sighs. If you want to blame someone, it's because of those minutes you cut his $50,000 for. Did you go too far? Who wouldn't have someone to hold grudges against? Those words are like a poisoned blade stuck straight into the manager's heart, who collapses in his chair, his throat dry. It's not entirely my fault. He's the one who broke the rules in the first place. Right now, as I get on my scooter, I'm calmly eating noodles by the side of the road while watching funny videos. I'm drinking an iced drink at 3 o'clock, enjoying my income from my real boss. My phone is on silent. With my eyes closed, I imagine the manager's face. A mixture of anger, regret, fear, and utter anguish. Serves him right, after all. Who told him to be so ruthless and steal my $50,000? Here, at the boss's place, the equipment is practically new and extremely well maintained. Small problems arise from time to time. I'll sort it out quickly. I finish my days right on time, and I can even take on odd jobs on the side. This life is simply great. I return to my dorm in the dark. It's already after 11 p.m., and from a distance, I see someone pacing in front of the entrance, visibly very anxious. My dear brother, here you are at last. Come quickly to the workshop to put out the fire. The client arrived in the middle of the night. Sales require that the finished products be ready tomorrow morning, and our working hours are already up. We'll see all that tomorrow. There's no way I'm going to work for free after braving the cold wind all night. I still managed to earn over 100 yuan. If you run the machine tonight, I'll give you 200 yuan from my pocket. The director's voice suddenly comes from behind me. In the light of the street lamp, I see his old face, pale and as white as a sheet of paper. I jump. The cheapskate personally came to wait for me. Come back tomorrow morning. Too tired to keep my eyes open. If I'm late tomorrow, I won't get a second prize for your detentions. I blurt out these words and face the dorm. 500 yuan. And on top of that, I'll give you a day off with pay tomorrow. But not really. I do the math in my head with paid leave. I could take a little job on the side. That doesn't seem like a bad deal. You keep your word of honor. The director clings to me like a life buoy. He's following me closely. The sun is rising in the west. Why has this vampire suddenly changed his behavior? I unlock my phone and see an avalanche of distress messages in the workshop group. I can't help but snicker. After all this time, they're all lost and can't make it. They're forced to come and beg me. But after running around all day, my bones are mush. Nothing beats the comfort of my bed. I deliberately drag my feet and keep climbing. No matter how urgent you are, I've seen too many empty promises. I don't lift a finger without a guarantee. My friend, when I walk in the night, I hate being called from behind, especially that black-hearted director. 500 yuan in cash. plus whole days off. Are you okay with that, Lang? Damn, don't leave. But don't stop suddenly. This old fox is really cornered. He's terrified. His former arrogant attitude has now crumbled. I turn around slowly. 500 yuan and 2 days off. You signed a black and white paper. I'll sign it right now. If you want me to write an IOU, I'll do it. I chuckle inwardly. When he crossed out my 50,000 with a stroke of his pen, he was much more arrogant. No, now he's playing the submissive. I sigh exaggeratedly, my voice drawling and exhausted. I'm really exhausted tonight. My legs are like lead. You see, I can barely stand. How do you expect me to have the strength? The manager is so desperate that he's on the verge of tears. The thing? I beg you, the customer is already at the hotel. He demands startup and delivery by 10 a.m. tomorrow. Machine number 3 is dead. If I don't deliver, I'm finished. Boss with such pressure. It puts me in a situation delicate. The boss was about to deliver a real punch. So, can you show some compassion? Now, it's okay, shut up. I'll go see what's wrong first. As soon as I said that, my colleagues around us almost applauded with joy. To be honest, I'm not the type to sit around with my arms crossed. But when faced with such a contemptuous boss, you have to show him what you're capable of so that he finally understands what respect for technology is. As soon as I arrived in front of machine number 3 beyond, the crowd instantly parted to let me pass. The huge, lifeless Gila machine number 3, like a pile of useless scrap metal barely squatted before even touching the hood. A colleague told me, "Brother L, we've been working on this thing for 2 hours. We've been able to do absolutely nothing." The manager is so stressed, he's almost wetting his pants. The sales department managers have blown up my phone. They've already asked for 800 time for this machine. A sarcastic smile plays on my lips. Of course, whenever a complex breakdown occurs, Winnie, he's counting on me. No. Hearing this, the muscles in the manager's face contract violently. I shine the powerful flashlight into the bowels of the machine. The breakdown is more obvious than a baby doll. The transmission belt is torn off and the central axis is completely out of alignment. If we were to turn on the machine now, the entire workshop would be in danger of being destroyed. No exaggeration. If I hadn't come an hour later, the main bearing would have shattered on the spot. I lower my voice and insult coldly. What an idiot installed the base. The feet aren't even fixed. The new apprentice trembles with fear and timidly raises his hand. The factory manager urges us to produce and orders us to close our eyes and run the machines as best we can. The manager, on the verge of suffocation from anger, yells, "Shut up, my friend. Just shut up for a bit, okay?" I don't even bother to answer them, and I shout at the top of my lungs, "Prepare the dough. The number 8 and 12 wrenches. Give me the flat and Phillips screwdrivers. Hurry up." Around me, the workers are bustling around as if they've received a shot of adrenaline. They run to get the tools. As soon as I grab them, a dead silence falls over the noisy workshop. The shrill sound of scraping metal resonates. Everyone holds their breath, their eyes fixed on my flailing hands. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 35 minutes, it's done. My black gloves, smeared with oil, arc through the air before slamming onto the table. The manager is petrified, like an ice statue. What? Is it fixed already? I'm not kidding. Go ahead and press the start button and see. The manager holds out a trembling finger. He firmly presses the start button. Vroom. The imposing machine number 3 wakes up like a wild beast, turning with such fluidity that it seems to have been perfectly lubricated. A whirring sound that almost makes you want to cry. The workshop remains silent for seconds and then literally explodes. Feng is a god, It's absolutely incredible. Feng, you are the true genius of this factory. Even the seasoned workshop supervisor was stunned. He was speechless. I've never seen such speed of execution in my career. Only the manager is capable of doing this. The people in cotton wool almost collapse on their knees in front of me. Lai Feng, my savior. If anyone dares to hold you back for even a penny, I will shoot them. Henceforth, the decisions here are yours. I sweep him away with a cold look. Spare me your nonsense. Tomorrow morning, make sure to submit my repair order. 2 days, and the 500 yuan on my desk, okay? Right away, I promise. The manager takes out his phone, his hands trembling, in front of everyone. He makes the transfer via WA. It's fixed for tonight, right? No problem. And for the repair work, I'm taking days off. Take all the days off you want. I nod, satisfied. Come on, I'm going home. I'm so tired my head is going to explode. Hands behind my back, as if I were walking after my day's work. I leave the workshop with a warm smile. Behind me, dozens of workers are staring at me, their eyes full of devout admiration, as if they were contemplating a deity. Enjoy 2 days off. What a joy to sleep until my body decides to wake up. When I open my eyes, the sun's already beating down hard after a hot shower. I hop on my old taco to the corner. I down a bowl of dry noodles and a cheap iced soy milk. AR of satisfaction. This life without stress, without reproach, and without a scapegoat. I wouldn't even trade it for the throne of an emperor. In the evening, as usual, I go to the neighbors to earn 2,000. I give a few turns of the wrench on a machine and it starts working again as if by magic. Sir, where's my thumbs up? Brother, your hands are made of solid gold. Sir, you are very kind to flatter me. Keep going. I will end up signing a 6-month slavery contract with you. Once the repair is finished, may I return to the main factory and continue the same course of action. As soon as I arrive, I look up and stand rooted to the spot. Unfamiliar faces appear in the workshop as if by magic. They stand straight as posts, looking more important than the workshop manager himself. Someone approaches and whispers in my ear. These are the experts that the director hired from Pre-Door. Apparently they are paid 12,000 UAN per month. I can't help but spit inwardly. What an investment. While I kill myself at work all year long to get 50,000 UAN stolen from me, the director uses this money to support his newcomers. He's very clever. He plans to finance their month's salary with my sweat. A pang of bitterness crosses my heart, but it disappears quickly. When I think of what I have in my pocket with my 2,000 per evening, I crush them. These are supposedly expert technicians. The more new people there are, I can continue to slack off with peace of mind. The harder he works, the more I can openly laze around. What a thrill. As soon as the end of day bell rings, my muscular reflex takes over, and I am the first to clock in. Hey guys, whoa, see you later. But today, I'm not rushing off right away. I'm heading straight to the director's office. This old geezer is comfortably settled in his armchair, enjoying a top-quality winning tea. I knock on the door. Director, I have a little question. He looks up at me, says about this annual prize of 50,000 UAN. Can't we just let it go out of indulgence for 2 minutes late? That's really over the top. No. The director's face instantly changed color as if turning the page of a book, instantly regaining his superior air of a little boss. He calmly lifted his teacup, blew on the foam on the tea and said, Ling, the factory has its rules. Being late is an offense. It's written in black and white. If I made an exception for you, tomorrow, all the workers would be late. How could I still lead this team? You must also understand my position. I stared at his silent face for a full 3 seconds. What lesson have I just learned? When he needs you, he pretends to be nice. Once the favor is rendered, he turns his back on you. When he needs help, he was ready to get down on his knees. As soon as the crisis passed, he immediately resumed his arrogant and disgusting attitude. I swallowed my anger and tried another approach. Even a token outfit would suffice. The manager's face was thicker than a steel plate from a tower. He didn't even make a move. Your request is completely unreasonable. It's absolutely out of the question. I shrugged my shoulders indifferently. Very well. I understand. Since you went all the way without any humanity, don't blame me for letting it go. Time flew by like a river for a month. These new experts with their diplomas stacked on a meter are just too stiff to bend over. They can't stand the slightest oil stain. They understand absolutely nothing about the whims of these old machines in the workshop. Using theoretical knowledge, they fool people for a while, but as soon as a complex problem arises, they are lost. They continue to entrust me with the dirty and exhausting tasks. As long as I am paid to do my job, it doesn't bother me. As for these new ones, they were full of enthusiasm when they arrived, running around showing off their wings. The director, for his part, was living in his dreams, thinking that he had found a savior for 12 Malanes and would no longer need to put up with my mood. Hands clasped behind, he paced the workshop, envisioning the factory ruling the world. For my part, I would point to their pile without staying a second longer. After work, I would rush to Mr. Wu for maintenance. The machines were running perfectly under my care, and the man beamed at me every time I visited. Early in month 2, he directly deposited the remaining 60,000 UAN into my account. This business life was the bare minimum with a double salary. It was absolutely comfortable. But while everyone thought that the newcomers had taken over, an imminent disaster was brewing in the shadows. The director had no idea that his current arrogance would soon collide brutally with reality. I continued to arrive and leave on time. I would not give in for a second longer. Of course, this complete calm did not last. That morning, after clocking in and entering the workshop, I saw his overpaid technicians surrounding machine number 5, their eyebrows raised. They looked like they had seen a ghost. I went closer to listen. He was complaining loudly. The design of this machine is inhumane. Why is it so archaic? The bolt is completely stuck. What idiot did this? We struggled all afternoon yesterday, and now we only have the parameters. Worse, we don't understand anything. Standing behind it, I almost burst out laughing. Archaic. It's just that you overeducated people are ignorant. You've never seen this kind of vintage war equipment. These so-called elites with their big salaries and degrees are allergic to grease. They would never get down on their knees to inspect a machine. Their specialty is criticizing without touching. Old Chen sneaked up and whispered, "They fought until 11 p.m. last night. Machine number 5 still isn't moving. The workshop manager is on the verge of a nervous breakdown." That's good. A salary of 12,000 yuan, and they can't even handle a machine number 5. 000 is for their windy technique, and the remaining 2,000 is for their manner. That was well said. I almost burst out laughing. That little problem on machine number 5. I knew what it was just by hearing the noise. The central shaft is seized, and the lubricating oil has turned into a paste as hard as asphalt. But I would have to be crazy to offer my help. My current position is that of the master of avoidance and the king of the gland. I don't touch anything anymore. My work motto is engraved in my mind. What is not under my responsibility? I don't lift a finger. Around 10 a.m., a deafening explosion shook the entire workshop. The floor shook, and everyone was petrified. After that, a newcomer let out a cry of terror. "Manager, it's over. Machine number 5 is exploding." The manager rushed out of his office faster than I can when I run to earn my 2 years after work. "What's going on?" "Yesterday, you promised it would be fixed." The newcomer was livid, his lips trembling. He was desperately searching for excuses. "We followed the procedure. We adjusted the parameters. It suddenly cracked. Every second that machine number 5 is down is money lost. Do you have a brain or something? The manager was red with rage, ready to have a fit. The workshop manager wiped his forehead, sweating profusely. Faced with the general shock in the workshop, he had no idea what was happening. Passed by, and the director's face was dark, almost livid. He turned his head abruptly, glaring at me with a fierce glare. I was passing by with a large wrench, staring blankly at the ceiling, completely unconcerned by the situation. "Le Feng, come and fix this quickly," the director shouted. "I'm busy with my post. Machine number 5 doesn't concern me." This sentence almost choked him. His face turned purple, while the young graduates paid 12,000 years remained petrified, their faces ashen. They wanted to disappear on the spot, and one of them tried to save face anyway. "Mr. Director, don't worry, we'll try again." But barely had his screaming fingers touched the start button, a tearing sound of metal rang out, startling the entire workshop. This time, not even the smoke was coming out anymore. The overload protection had triggered, and the shrill alarm, like the cry of an animal being slaughtered, echoed throughout the workshop, making the director turn pale until his blood ran. His lips trembled, acting quickly on the other side, waiting for the machine to break down. Old Chain sighed, desperate. "It's all over." A deadly silence fell over the workshop. The atmosphere was heavy as at a funeral. Dozens of godfathers turned to me, waiting for me to break the ice. The new ones glanced at me furtively, their eyes pleading. "Grandmaster, we are truly lost. Help us." The manager's arrogance had been shattered, vanishing like dust. He approached me, his voice as thin as a mosquito. "Le Feng, please, just take a look." As I was about to answer, my phone vibrated. I calmly took it out and took a look. The boss had sent me a message. "Leng, my brother. Soon tonight, a seafood banquet awaits you. As long as you're in the workshop, I'll be fine." As I read, the corners of my mouth turned up, and I almost burst out laughing. On the one hand, I was being begged like a dog. On the other, I was being treated like a god. The contrast between these two situations was simply delightful. I slowly raised my head to stare into the manager's face, who was so worried he was almost crying, and I softly blurted out, "Manager, why are you asking me? Didn't hire expensive technicians with a degree of 12,000 UAN? They are elites after all. For this kind of detail, you have to ask them." The director's Adam's apple bobbed violently. He swallowed hard while the newcomers, humiliated in front of everyone, turned red as tomatoes. The director completely cracked. "Leng Nusi, I beg you, in the entire factory, only you control machine number 5. I looked at him coldly, remaining silent for 3 seconds. It's not that I wanted to let him go, but when faced with a guy who stabs you in the back, if he doesn't bleed a little, he'll never learn respect. I took a deep breath, my gaze cold, and my voice calm but piercing. "Mr. Director, the last time I was in your office, you taught me that internal rules are king. Since the rules are set, shouldn't we follow them strictly? Even machine number 5 is not one of my responsibilities. If I intervene, am I not stealing the work of your expert technicians? That wouldn't be right, would it?" The manager's face turned white as I put my key back in my pocket, calmly continuing my work. Despite the chaos around machine number 5, I remained as calm as a stone. "I am just an employee. I work for my salary, and I stay within my limits. The rest is none of my business." Arriving at 5:30 p.m. to the sound of the hunger bell, I became a real sprinter, pointing my card to the second. What a relief! I shook the dust from my hands, humming a cheerful tune, while the experts paid 12,000 anas. Tearing my hair out is not possible. Why did the parameters jump again? I am the one who set them. What's the problem? I am overwhelmed. My head is about to explode. The workshop manager was agitated like a devil. It was fixing a machine. The young graduates were livid. "Boss, we really tried everything. Done all I could. I fixed this junk by sound alone, and you can't do it even if you're several people." The director was shaking with rage, but I had already left. "Canceller, it's time. Working for free without pay. It's a sweet dream." I got on my old scooter and rode in the evening breeze. I feel so good. It's after 9 p.m. and I'm sitting in the deserted office sipping hot tea. I've set up both machines with one hand so that they work perfectly. Brother Lang's divine talent is hereditary. It's exemplary stability. Everywhere tonight. Don't wear yourself out. Just come and take a look, and I'll be reassured. For over a month, everything depended on your prowess. Orders and production were going swimmingly. He just smiled, waved, and went back to work. But no sooner had I finished wiping my hands than the phone in my pocket started vibrating furiously as if electrified. I took a look. The screen's flooded with workshop group messages. It's a disaster. Machine number 5 is completely dead this time. It's completely out of order. Even the lights are off, and the assembly line is spitting out nothing but waste. The phone keeps ringing with customers demanding results, and the manager is smashing cups in his office. The situation is critical. The accounting department has just done its calculations. Estimated losses are around 100 million. I almost spit my hot tea all over the screen. 100 million. Even if we used all the factory's profits for the year, we wouldn't be able to make up for the surplus. I stand there staring blankly. I scroll down to see the rest of the show. Machine number 5 was processing all the high-margin VIP orders, and the worst part is that it completely blocks the next 2 production lines. Everything that has come out in the last 2 days is industrial scrap metal. The customers have gone berserk. The director has been thrown in his face. I couldn't help but laugh. I'm slumped over the desk, banging on it frantically. This isn't just a broken machine, huh? This is a nuclear bomb that I've just detonated. He wasn't criticizing my thyroflan attitude. I've only been hanging around for a few days, and I've already lost the factory $100 million. The more money they lose until they're broke, the more indefensible this director of Pakoti will be. The tables are turning. This is just payback for treating a basic technical expert like a shit. At 11 p.m., I calmly returned to my dormitory on my scooter, seeing from afar the entire factory lit up like broad daylight. In front of machine number 5 Gatus, a bunch of unfortunate people with bloodshot eyes are still working hard, even the director who is used to looking down on people. He himself has rolled up his sleeves to work on the base of the machine. As I pass by the gate, someone notices me and screams at the top of his lungs. Brother L to the Grandmaster, "Hey, you're finally here. Come quickly and save us. We're begging you." I don't even turn around. No time. I've already finished my shift. I've just made my deliveries. I'm in pieces. Brother Lee, please. The director's at breaking point. What does it matter to me? I press on toward the dormitory, not slowing down. Behind me, the scene looks like hell on earth. Some have half their bodies plunged into the machine, others are banging on the chairs, in despair. Some are screaming in distress. The foreman holds his head in his hands and wonders what he is doing there. Crouched on the floor, the manager is slumped over a box of parts like a rag. His eyes blank, repeating the same thing over and over. I couldn't help but turn around to savor this magnificent image for a second before going back to bed, humming. In fact, I really should thank him for holding on to my money. It forced me to look for additional income. What I have earned in the past few months far exceeds this miserable end-of-year bonus. This year is going to be a good year. Working for free? Even a dog wouldn't accept that affront. I had barely pushed open the door of the dormitory without even having time to undo it when several giants appeared and lifted me into the air. Brother L, have mercy, and save us. Boylak. The manager threatened if machine number 5 is not repaired, all the end-of-year bonuses for the workshop will be cancelled. I remain suspended in the air, stunned. A collective punishment. It's also vicious. The ones carrying me are my colleagues, the ones I've always worked hard with, side by side. At this moment, their eyes are bloodshot and ready to cry. The phrase, "What do I care?" that was on the tip of my tongue gets stuck in my throat. Seeing their tired faces on the verge of collapse, my determination not to give in softens a little. These guys are all counting on this money to survive, me, to buy new clothes for the new year, and their mother-in-laws are still waiting for the red envelopes. No one knows better than I how vital this money is to those like me who work all year long just hoping for that meager bonus at the end of the year. Brother L, come back to work. The director has given a strict order. If we don't make you come back, everyone's hard-earned money will go up in smoke. Hearing this, I almost collapsed, burst out laughing. Not bad. Little guy, are you enjoying using the tiger to devour the wolf with me? You stole my money, and that wasn't enough for you. Now you're threatening everyone's cub to force me to give in. It's unspeakably disgusting. When you swiped my 50,000 with a dismissive gesture, you weren't proud. Now that you've run into a wall, your bones are aching. My face suddenly went cold when he stole my bonus. Why didn't any of you open your mouth? Everyone was speechless. After a silence, Lan plucked up his courage. Brother L. Back then, we didn't think the director was such a rabid dog. If everything gets seized, I won't be able to go home in front of my wife and children. Brother Lee, my wife is 8 months pregnant. She's counting on this money for the baby's milk. It's the same for me too. If I come back without my bonus, my wife will throw me out with my luggage. Brother Lee, now you are the parents of these hundreds of workers in the workshop. A long silence falls as I look at this bunch of roughnecks. He stares at me with red eyes as if I were a living Buddha, and I feel my chest tighten suddenly. Rules are rules. I have finished my shift and have just finished my delivery outside. I am exhausted beyond measure, but I stand firm and say, "Old man, stop acting like this. My brothers are really pushed to the limit. If the machine stays in this state, the losses will be huge. Forget about the end-of-year bonus. Even next month's base salary is uncertain." I let out a long sigh. I want to strangle this unfortunate manager, but I can't let these poor guys go down with him. I kick my pants in the middle of the night. I get up with a start. Let's go. The group explodes with joy. They scream with excitement, ready to worship me like a deity and escort me to the workshop. The workshop looks like a scene from the apocalypse. Don't touch that cable. Oh no, it's over. Quick, another fire. Help. Why is it still giving off toxic fumes? The whole workshop is going to be destroyed. We're all going to die together. The workshop manager clutches his head, crouched in a corner. This manager, usually so affected, is slumped over a scrap crate, eyes blank, reciting like a soulless, mechanical robot. One small goal. Why am I so unlucky? He looked up, seeing me come with the workers, and it seemed he saw his mother at that hour. He comes towards me, almost sprawled out. Brother Feng, my savior, just arrived. The name Brother Feng almost makes me regurgitate the supper from yesterday. I finished my shift. I just happened to pass by. The manager holds his breath. He doesn't dare to plug in anymore and instantly switches to premium box licking mode. Brother Feng, I kowtow to you. State your price. How much do you want? Ask for whatever you want. As long as you save this factory, I'm ready now to kowtow to you 300 times. The guys around me come closer, begging for mercy. Show us your expertise. We're totally powerless against this chaos. Big brother, unless you intervene tonight, we'll all have to jump off the roof. Brother, why did you come to this? I let out a heavy sigh and walked towards machine number 5. One look is enough to make me spit out my blood. These so-called experts who pay a fortune have turned a multi-million piece of equipment into a pile of scrap metal. Half the screws are missing. The cables are reversed. The essential components are out of place, and even the main shaft has been bent by brute force. I can't help but curse. Holy shit, you call this a repair? This is pure sabotage. The brains on duty blush instantly. We really did our best. You're driving the factory to bankruptcy. No need to waste my saliva. I raise my head. My icy gaze sweeps over the assembly. 8, 10, 12 multimeter wrench, precision gauge, Phillips and flat screwdriver, mitts, and oven mitts. Give me all of that at lightning speed. All of it's in front of me in under 2 minutes. The 8, 10, and 12 wrenches, the multimeter, screwdrivers, gauge, age, and gloves are in place. And even a bottle of water is open and respectfully held out to me. Brother L, wet your throat. Have a drink. Brother L, I'll enlighten you. Is this intensity enough? Brother L, the floor is cold. I put cardboard on you to insulate you. I chuckle to myself. Usually, he calls me an old hand behind my back. Now he's playing the dutiful son. The change is faster than turning a page. I zip up my overalls, the chait, pull on my insulated gloves, bend over and slide under the chassis of machine number 5. This antique is riddled with components. The circuits are tangled. There's not even room to work. These beginners have turned everything into mush. Repairing the damage will take 3 times as much energy. I've barely started. A dead silence reigns in the workshop. No one dares to breathe. The sound of metal scraping and the dozens of people present are petrified, holding their breath. He recalibrates the reference point. Shit, this blind method is not in any book. Who are you to watch this masterstroke? Do you think this is a family show? The manager remains frozen like a board, not daring to move an inch, afraid of disturbing my work. Lying under the machine, I remain calm. I fix his stupid breakdowns with my eyes closed. It's as easy as drinking a glass of water. The bearing is completely bent, and 5 other key components have deviated as a result. They even managed to reverse the polarity of the basic sensors. No wonder the machine screams its death as soon as it is powered up. The temperature control cables have been connected haphazardly by these so-called experts. 1 more second, and the motherboard would have burned instantly. If they hadn't begged me to come tonight with their brutal dismantling method, they would have simply led the entire factory into a mass suicide. Head down for over 3 hours without moving. Before, being exploited and working unpaid hours was my daily routine. Would you like to go outside to catch your breath? Less blabbering, Give me the wrench quickly. Watching Lang at the Over is 100 times more exciting than a Hollywood blockbuster. Until 3 a.m., the neon lights in the workshop tire my eyes. I grit my teeth to tighten the fatal nuts and collapse to the ground. I let out a long sigh. Everything is ready to restart. My fingers are shaking. I press the green start button, and the colossal machine number 5 emits a steady hum. At that moment, the entire workshop explodes. It's stable. It's finally come back to life. You really are the god of mechanics. Damn, if I hadn't seen this with my own eyes, I would have thought it was science fiction special effects. A 100 million contract saved an extremist. Some workers, unable to handle the pressure, burst into tears. The director, like a son lost for years, throws himself at me as if he had found his father. The workshop manager, my savior. You saved my life. The life of the entire company. One more mention of tardiness, and I'll strangle them myself. From now on, you are my brother. I will treat you with more respect than the CEO. You order me. I obey. I will grant you everything you want. I will sign your requests for funds immediately. Get your vacation. I'll sign the promotion now. It's settled for tonight. Exhausted to the point of having mush, I squint my eyes to look at him. So my 50,000 years of manual labor, do I have them back? The director jumps as if he had been electric shock. Of course, I will give them back to you. I'll give you back your 50,000 and add 20,000 from my pocket. Even 100,000 if you want. From now on, you're my father, director. Your ability to change your face in a flash is smoother than a beauty filter. It was all well and good to take away my 50,000. Now, that attitude is really flat. Given that we didn't know he was the factory's pillar, we were really foolish to bother him. The director goes pale under the remarks. He doesn't say a word, unable to do anything but smile servilely. I take off my oil-covered gloves and shake them out. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to sleep. Everyone is stunned by this reaction. You've just saved the factory, and you're already leaving. You abandon us like that. You're not staying to monitor the stability of the parameters. The day is over. I am not a slave to be forced to do anything. The director screams in panic, almost losing his voice. Savior, it is 3:30 in the morning, despite being 3 a.m. It's my free time. The workshop explodes with laughter. As I shuffle down the empty hallway, rapid footsteps sound behind me. As I prepare to return to the dormitory, the director catches up with me, out of breath, and blocks my path. This time I am sincere. I offer you my most solemn apologies. It is my fault. Be magnanimous. Do not hold it against me. I spoke without thinking. I was stupid. Please do not leave. Starting next spring, Expect a raise and promotion. Just stay here. You can set your own terms. I stopped dead in my tracks. It seems that this old fox has finally sensed that I am ready to throw in the towel. He really thought he could play tough until the end. I look up at this director who is bowing his noble back in the middle of the night, and I give him a cold smile without saying a word too much or uttering a threat. Director who can predict the future. We'll see when the time comes. At these words, the director's legs give way, and he almost collapses in the hallway. I drag my feet to the dormitory without even having the strength to take off my oily jumpsuit. I collapse on my bed like a sack, my head barely touching the pillow. I fall into a deep sleep, snoring like an engine. In the early morning, I open my eyes again and look at my phone. Shit, it's 10. I leaped out of bed. It's a disaster. I missed the time again. My heart races like an engine at full speed with this director's pettiness. 2 minutes late was enough to make me swallow my 50,000 bonus. For being 2 hours late this time, I was probably going to be fired and hung up in front of the entire factory. My name would probably end up nailed to the pillory of the internal regulations. But suddenly, an idea crossed my mind. Last night, my brain had single-handedly saved this ruined factory. It had pulled it out of a 100 million abyss. Shit, it was him who saved the destiny of the entire factory, staying in bed at 10 a.m. That's true, respect for life. I stretch for a long time. I wash and brush my teeth without rushing, like a pachat, before calmly heading towards the factory. In my head, it was settled. At worst, I'd be yelled at. Too bad. No matter, I'd just arrived at the gate. I mechanically take my phone out of my pocket. I just want to check the time, but a bank transfer notification pops up on the screen, nearly burning my retinas. The manager transferred you 20,000 UAN. With this message, a one-off bonus from my pocket. Nana. The rest of the annual bonus will be paid at the end of the year. Every penny is there. I stare at the screen and stutter for 3 seconds. My body, more honest than my brain, clicks accept. A bird in the hand is worth 2. You'll get it. As for the promise to pay the rest at the end of the year, only a fool would believe it. That son of a bitch didn't hesitate to cut off my income before. So why would he be sincere now? You don't get fooled twice. As soon as I put my phone away, the guard at the entrance who had always looked down on me stands to attention and greets me. Good morning, Elle. This sudden treatment makes me jump. It's almost lunchtime. What a good morning. No matter what time it is for you. Oh, it's always morning. The manager has given strict orders. As soon as Lai appears, I have to call him immediately to report to him. I'm speechless. I've been killing myself here for 5 years. I've never experienced such preferential treatment. As I cross the threshold of the workshop, head held high, everything becomes clear. My 3 hours of work last night were well worth it. In the distance, machine number 5 hums so regularly and melodiously, it's almost touching. The workshop manager comes to meet me with an obsessive smile, as if he's seen a god. He's finally awake. As long as you're here, we can finally breathe. Your work last night was incredible. Number 5 has never been so docile. Good morning, Lee. Elle, are you thirsty? I'll get you some warm water. Are you hungry? I'll get you some buns from the canteen. Elle, you look good today. You're magnificent. Inwardly, I chuckle. Even now, he was showing off. Why are they now as submissive as dogs? The director storms out of his office, tears almost welling up in his eyes. He exclaims, "You finally honored us with your presence. Come in, please. Have a nice cup of tea in my office." Director, I'm 2 hours late. You're not cutting my salary anymore. He shakes his head vigorously. Being late? That concept doesn't exist for you here. You are now our living treasure, our technical director. Your arrival time is our start time for work. No complaints. Absolutely, Mr. Director. I feel like I'm growing wings. At 3 a.m., he almost got down on his knees. Today, he's literally at my feet, me, sitting in his spacious office. Seeing the director humbly serve me tea, I wonder if I'm not dreaming. He holds the cup in both hands with comical caution, as if he were carrying a box of dynamite. Last night, you saved the entire factory from disaster. What an achievement. I gave the big boss a full report during the night. We discussed it. No more chores for you. You won't have to lift a finger anymore. What dirty cut is he? Does he want to throw me away like an old sock once the job is done? The manager approaches, his face beaming with honeyed flattery, as if he owes me a fortune. Your only task now is to sit down and watch the machines. Your mere presence is enough. That reassures everyone. Your salary will be unlimited. You decide the amount yourself. Give me a figure. I won't even argue. I am speechless in the face of so much flattery. The manager, seeing my silence, thinks the offer is insufficient and raises the stakes to prove his loyalty. Do you want to rest? Take paid leave. I'll sign in a second. If you have a personal problem, leave whenever you want, without even giving a reason. If you have to intervene in extreme cold, overtime will be paid by the minute. You determine the price for timekeeping. End of discussion. From today, Boomena, you are on the list white. If you want to leave sooner after the work is done, that's perfectly legitimate. And if you find it uncomfortable to sleep on the table at noon, I'll go buy you a luxury mattress. I'll have it installed in the workshop. Holding my hot cup, I bite my lip to stifle a laugh. The director lowers his voice with that servile, obsessive air. I beg you, never again think of leaving without your talent. My factory wouldn't last 24 hours and would go bankrupt from now on. Your every word will carry more weight than my official documents. I take a sip of tea. I look up. So for my 50,000 bonus, this time, it's definitive. There will be no more deductions. Anyone who dares to deduct anything from my salary will have to deal with me. No way. Absolutely no way. Starting next spring, I will double your bonus to 100,000. My dear Lit, you are now the beating and irreplaceable heart of this entire factory. On the surface, I remain impassive, but inwardly, I tell myself that empty promises are enough. We'll see next year. A capitalist never changes his ways. They only learn after being corrected by a hard lesson. Hearing the joyful hum of machine number 5 outside, the backlog of orders is put back on track, saving incalculable losses, which earns me the bows of the senior executives. And even those technicians with the same degree now have to stand at attention as soon as they see me from 800 meters away. As for what my greatest wish is now, without a doubt, it's to finish my day at their pile, to get on my beloved little scooter and go get a little extra demi-yuan at the boss next door, in front of such an who would refuse. He would be the biggest fool. The routine continues, unending, arriving on time, leaving on time. Even if the machine starts smoking, I won't stay a second longer. As for the crazy promises I hear in the manager's office, I consider them to be the ravings of a man in a state of shock. For a worker, as long as it's not written down in black and white with an official statement, only what falls into the bank account is real. The rest is just nonsense. With tens of thousands of yuan in my pocket, a life without any extra hours, wandering around observing those machines set up as they should be, while appreciating the subservience of those who treat me as an ancestor to be revered, I told myself with all my heart, this is finally what it means to be a worker who stands his ground. These newcomers, once so arrogant, see me every day as if they had been programmed and call me Brother Lee with more affection than their own father. Hello, Brother Lee. Brother Lee, in your shape today, you could tear apart a machine tool. Brother Lee, would you like some water? The workshop manager passes by my desk at least 3 times a day, like a thief, tense, afraid that I will be upset. Even if I clear my throat in the hallway, the manager comes out of his office like a hen, protecting her chicks. Brother L, why are you coughing? Have you caught a cold? Go home. Are you taking a paid day off? Do you want me to take you to a specialist personally? What's all this fuss about? I've just smoked too much. My throat is a little dry. The manager immediately turns around and yells at the cleaning lady. Quickly go and prepare some ginger tea with brown sugar for the manager and chop the ginger really thick. I am completely overwhelmed by this surreal scene. This dramatic and absurd scene a month ago. I would not have even dared to dream of it. As for enjoying this royal treatment now, it has become as natural as drinking a glass of water. Sometimes a dangerous idea crosses my mind. Perhaps I could continue to dominate them by being even more insolent. When it comes to promotions and raises, the manager is constantly looking for new ways to whisper in my ears. Brother L, starting in the new year, we will increase your salary. The amount depends solely on your decision. If you agree to give your consent, I will personally go to the accounting department to obtain an exceptional procedure. That paltry salary of yesteryear was an insult to your divine talent. We must reflect the terrifying value of the best talents with hard cash. Every time I hear these empty promises, I content myself with a cold, knowing smile. We will see about that after the holidays. I now have the means to match my ambitions. I am no longer on his side. In reality, I know very well that as long as I stay here, he will have to cough up the cash if I leave. His factory will become a pile of scrap metal in no time. Nearly 40 years of life. After having been crushed by society for so long, I finally understood a golden rule of the professional world. As long as you have irreplaceable expertise, even the king of the sky must stay in his place in front of me. It's enjoyable. He's gonna have to behave himself in front of me. What foot?